Welcome to Exit the Matrix, Stories of Success with your host, Jane Slack-Smith, where we celebrate the incredible journeys of individuals who've transcended their limitations and achieved extraordinary success.
Okay, it's Jane, and I am back with another superstar. I cannot believe how the universe is just serving me up the most beautiful, incredible people at the right time. And I was chatting to someone I'd interviewed previously, Joe Shea, and I said, I need an abundance manifestation expert. And he's like, a Narley Kerry. I have to introduce her. So, Narley, hi.
Hello, thank you for having me, Jane. I'm so excited. Thank you.
And you know what I love about this? I've blindsided you. Say, yeah, let's have a chat. I'm thinking you're turning up for like, a hi, how you going? And I'm like, no,
Yeah,
let's jump into it. And so,
amazing. I'm ready.
this is what she looks like when she first jumps out of bed. Like, hello, she's manifested gorgeousness in all ways. So, okay, Nali,
Mhm.
you are like a hypnotherapist, EFT, like NLP, timeline therapy, which I don't even know what it is, but it sounds great. Like you've got all these credentials, but you've been teaching manifestation with the end goal, I'm assuming, of abundance for like over 15 years. And in the book and the research that I'm doing, it struck me, there's people who want more and feeling unfulfilled, and there's the different mechanisms that we can get into and how people can be connected and find their truth, etc. But this whole concept of abundance is something that I haven't explored. And so I thought, talking to someone who's been helping people manifest into abundance, let's just kick off with what does that mean? What's abundance and what's like living fully, your fully expressed life mean to you?
Yes, amazing question. Well, thank you for having me again. I'm so excited. So, abundance.
Mm,
Abundance is overflow. It's having more than enough. It's feeling limitlessness. Whereas scarcity and poverty is constriction. It's fear. It's worry. It's that heaviness, right? So there's when I think of abundance, I think of freedom. I think
mm.
of the ability to choose,
Mm.
right? And living your, so what was the question? Living your
They're living
freedom.
like fully expressed, like going like this is it. I'm good. Yeah.
Mhm. Living fully expressed to me means taking up space, being worthy of what you desire and owning it, right? Calling it in, feeling like there's no limits. It's for you, it's meant for you, it's natural and normal for you. I
Mm.
think when it comes to abundance, a lot of people don't know the energy of it. They're not used to feeling expanded by money. When they think of money, they think of problems, they think of bills and debt, and it really feels heavy, right? Whereas abundance is that freedom, it's that lightness, it's that overflow of I have more than enough. I'm
Mm.
good, I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm held.
Mm.
I can trust money.
And so, I mean, having worked with people for so many years in manifesting, like we think about manifesting abundance and we think about, attracting what we want, and it's relationships and it's money and it's the career and it's the health and the spiritual enlightenment or whatever. What's the most unusual kind of things that you've found that people have wanted to attract into their lives? Is that kind of like the general, what
That's
people
the
want?
general, yeah, health, wealth, relationships. That's typically the overall thing that people want to manifest. Sometimes people want fame, but that goes hand in hand with, the wealth creation, the
Right.
the feeling of popularity, right? But pretty much those three categories, health, wealth, and relationships are where people are focusing on manifestations the most.
And do you find when you're working with people, and I want to get into how you work with people, but when you're working with people in creating that vision of what they want to create, that when they achieve that, it overflows into those other areas as well?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So when it comes to manifestation, we live in an identity-based universe. The universe is based on who is following who we see ourselves as, right? Jews go to synagogues, Catholics go to mass, rich people get rich, poor people get poor. So when
Mm.
someone starts to see themselves differently, identify differently, it's going to shift every area of their life, right? If they see themselves as someone that's worthy, it's going to spill into their worthiness of abundance, their worthiness of love, their worthiness of health, right? It's all touching, it's all related, it all comes back to their identity. And that's where I do my work.
And so when you're working with people around those identities that they have,
Mhm.
is there an awareness that you have that identity, or is that part of the process of trying to find it out? Like, are people kind of like, yeah, I know that I'm attracting the wrong person. Maybe I
Yeah.
think I'm worthy, or, does that have to be revealed?
It definitely has to be revealed. Sometimes they're conscious of the patterns, right? But they're not conscious of the programming that's creating the patterns and narratives and the subconscious stories that are manifesting, right? Because a lot of people think you're just manifesting your conscious desires. No, you're also manifesting your subconscious fears and blocks, right? That's also a part of your identity. So there is an uncovering, there is a discovery of, oh, I see myself as someone who you know, doesn't earn big. I'm not a high achiever. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not someone that gets on stage, right? We have all of these little I'm not like that stories, right? That also impacts us and we need to uncover.
I'm really interested in what you say there, because the words that you use or the thoughts that you have are kind of creating that 3D reality, right? Can you talk to that for me? Because I keep
Mhm.
thinking, as you write, you invite, as you say, it is
Oh,
so.
yeah,
Tell me a bit more about that, because I'm sure that's where
yeah,
you spend a lot of
yeah.
time.
Absolutely. So your 3D reality is responding to you. Your 3D reality is everything that you see, your senses, your bank account, everything outside of you, right? But
Mm.
your mind, your subconscious mind, is that projector, right? So if you have a script in your subconscious mind that you are not worthy, it's going to project out into your life, right? Your life is a printout of your subconscious programming.
Right.
So your 3D isn't really hiding anything. It's just revealing what's going on in here, right? The mind is the cause always. It's always the cause. It's the starting point. It's the projected reality. So if you want to shift what you're seeing, you have to shift an internal story that's happening within you. New
Right.
story, new reality. New story, new glory, right? But what happens is because of the programming, our past, our trauma, people get so used to and kind of addicted to their stories,
Yeah.
right? And they feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. And that's just who they see themselves as. And they're walking around with this mental handicap, if you will, until
Mm-mm.
they break free of that and try to decide that, you know what, actually, these beliefs are optional. These stories, I wasn't born with it, right? We're all born tabula rasa, blank
Mm.
states, blank slates, right? So we don't have these programs and these fears and doubts. We're imprinted with them. And that's our responsibility to undo them and shift them. And once we do, then our 3D reality will start to reflect our new held beliefs, right? Our BS, our belief systems.
So, so yeah, LBS. There's a great way of thinking about it. It's interesting. I was reading this article on the weekend, and it's something that I'm sitting with at the moment, and I'm kind of like, it's, and it's around. I think they're calling it the Ozempic divorce. And it's so
Oh,
how these people have had this identity of being quite overweight or quite large, and then they lose a lot of weight, and they're
yeah.
like, this is the new me. And their husband or their wife goes, not really comfortable of you being that
Ah,
attractive. And so
that's perfect.
there's almost like a secondary kind of overlay of expectation as well that you have to deal with, right?
Yep, exactly that. And that's why a lot of people don't want to change because there's a fear of loss. There's a fear of if I'm more successful, if I'm more attractive, people
Mm.
might not feel comfortable with me. People might reject me or criticize me, or I'll have more responsibility. So the identity shift, the different reality does come with consequences. Sometimes for better or worse. And a lot of it is just made up in our head. Like people aren't actually going to leave you, but sometimes they do because they can't meet you at that new frequency or that new identity triggers
Mm.
something within them that makes them walk away, right? So when I'm working with people, I notice, their fear of being bigger and better and more abundant. There's a lot of subconscious fear around what it means to other people and their relationships and how, mommy and daddy won't support me anymore, or my boyfriend will feel intimidated by me. There's all these little
Yeah. What if I
things
earn more
running.
than my husband?
Oh yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
that's interesting. I was working with a coach last week. We
Mhm.
uncovered this subconscious belief. And he said to me after it, how do you feel? Where are you feeling this? I said, I feel it like in my heart. He said, how do you feel? I said, I feel grief. And he said, it's
Mhm.
not an often spoken about thing, but when you do unveil or, become aware of a subconscious belief that you can then see through your life that has held you back or, been something that has limited you somewhat. There's a grief process, which is kind of what you're speaking about, that consequence, not just externally, but internally as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, you have to let go of your old life and who you thought you were, right?
Mm.
And it's either the pain of staying the same, but I like to look at the pleasure of moving forward, the pleasure of expanding. I try to get people to look at the good in the shifts and the changes, right? Because yes, there will be some things that naturally happen, even for myself, some people aren't in my reality anymore because for whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the pleasure of the people and the things that I'm manifesting, even this conversation, right, of me stepping more into my power, right? That's where I try to get people to understand it's worth it to rise and to shift your 3D and your self-concept and your identity.
Okay, so I want to go back because this is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, which is you said in any moment you're changing the thoughts and feelings and you're changing your 3D reality. You're changing what you're projecting on the world. That essentially means, right, that you as the sovereign creator of everything, you've created everything in the past, but in any moment you get to redefine now, the absolute present, and what can happen in the future. Like the past doesn't matter.
No, the past only lives in our mind. You can't take a car and drive to your past, right? It's only in here. And you
Mm,
have to disconnect from your past because your past was just your past programming, your past belief system. But in this new moment, you can decide something new for yourself and let it be true for yourself. Because even the word belief has the word lie in it, right? It's all optional. I'm not good enough. I'm good enough. I'm worthy of wealth. I'm not worthy of wealth. Money is hard. Money is easy. It's all optional. It's all on the table,
yeah.
right? When we let go of our past, when we stop copying and pasting the past, a lot of people do that. Because it never happened like this, it won't mean like this. Because my business hasn't been doing this way, it won't. They just copy and paste their past, but you
Mm,
don't have to, right?
mm,
It's a choice to be defined by the past, where you can really define yourself today and say, I'm the kind of person that gets what she wants. I'm this person now, and the world will respond to who you're being, who you decide you are. And that is
mm,
one of the first things I get people to do is decide what is the declare actually, declare the new GPS, just declare the new identity. Who do you want to be?
mm.
And then the universe will respond to that.
So I was listening to one of your videos and you talked about this universal security camera, which I think links into this. Can you just expand on that? Because I
Mhm.
think that's a beautiful metaphor for us to think
Yeah.
about, right?
Yes. Okay. So I'll start from the beginning. So I want you to imagine that you have the universal surveillance camera in the corner of your life, and it's just always watching you. It's just always there watching you, watching what Jane does, watching what Narly does. And it's taking notes on what to send you, all the places, people, opportunities, money to send you based on who you're being on that universal surveillance camera, right? So if you were to watch a recording of who you were being for the last 6 months, last 12 months, what would you see? Would you
Mhm.
see someone who is ambitious, someone who believes in themselves, someone that procrastinates, or someone that doubts and fears? And based on who you're being on that universal surveillance camera, the universe will send you things to reconfirm who you're being, right?
Mm.
It's kind of like when you have that 9 to 5, you're working at a cubicle and you notice that your boss is coming, then you start to like be someone else, right? Because the boss is coming,
Mouse
right?
watching.
Yeah. The universe is always reflecting us. It's
Right.
always reflecting us, right? So on top of the universal surveillance camera, I have another analogy about the costume you wear, right? Every day you get on stage, you go into the green room of your life and you put on a certain costume. The woman that knows what she's doing, the woman that suffers in this part of her life, right? And you
Mm.
get on stage and the world responds to who you're being, that character, that costume, right? And then one day you decide, I'm going to go into the closet and pick a new costume. I'm the seven-figure earner. I'm going to get on stage and be that outspoken entrepreneur, but then nothing happens. The three
Mm.
doesn't shift. And then you're like, oh shit, let me go back into the closet and put on my old clothes of the struggling entrepreneur, right? The key is to hold the vibration, to hold the costume, to maintain that state until the universe responds, until the universe starts sending you things to confirm that new shift. But people
Yeah.
fold so easily, they don't hold the character,
Yeah.
right? If you want to talk about it like that, right? So the universal surveillance camera and the costume you're wearing really helps me and my clients just get into gear. Like, who am I being?
Yeah.
Right?
And
How
you
am
get
I
a
showing
choice
up?
in any moment and
Any
awareness
moment.
of who am I now? Oh,
Hmm.
that makes me think of a situation that I had a few years ago now, where I was running these monthly Q&A calls the last Friday Thursday of the month. And I ran them for 10 years in the property investing space and only just recently finished them actually, because I now have an AI tool that answers all the questions better than me and remembers things. But it was interesting because I turned up and I usually would get, 20, 30 people watch it live and two or 300 people watch it, after a day or so. And so I'm on there and I turn up and I got my little phone and I've checked that it's gone live in Facebook and I'm like, whoa, here I am. And there was one person there. And I was like, what? And I thought, oh, I could chuck this in. I thought, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to love this one person up so much that everyone else is going to feel so jealous that they weren't on the call. Like, this is going to be the best, like, teaching call. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give them absolute gems of what's happening in the market. And they're going to be like making millions off this. And I've delivered this entire, like, whole teaching thing. And I'm finished and I'm like, that one person, they've really got the goods. And I've stopped the Facebook Live. And then I picked up my phone and I realized I was the one person watching. And I, I was like, what? And then I realized there was 5 Thursdays in the month, and I turned up on the fourth Thursday, and everyone else turned up the following week. So I had to do it all again. But it
Wow.
just made me realize that you do have a choice. Like, you're sitting there going, I'm going to put my Facebook out, Reels out, or Instagram or TikTok or whatever people do in social media. I'm going to be present. And then you're like, "Oh, not that many people are there, but you don't
But
really know.
right then and there, you show the universe on the surveillance camera who you're being. You're the dedicated woman. You're the passionate woman. It doesn't matter who's there or who's not there. Right
Yeah.
then and there, you cemented your identity to the universe, right? And
Yeah,
to
and
yourself.
that's what I think a lot of people miss is like, as you said, you can put the costume on and go, ta-da, and no one's there. And you're like, yeah, maybe I should go back and put on the other costume because people at least saw me and it's familiar. It may not be what I want, but
Mhm.
it's comfortable, right?
Comfortable. I know how the world's going to react. I know how the men and the money and the people are going to show up because they just have been this way,
Yeah.
right? But after a while, your soul keeps calling you to show up in a different way, to expand, to dare something different, right?
Mm,
And that's where the kind of the grit comes in, where you choose, right? The manifestation is a very empowered choice, right? To say, this is what I'm creating for myself. And it doesn't matter what it looks like right now. It doesn't matter what I see with my 3D reality. I'm deciding this.
mm.
That's
You
where the real. Mhm.
Well, yeah, I love what you're saying there. And I watched one of your videos on I'm going to manifest $30,000 in 30 days. And you set
Yes.
yourself this challenge. I, if
Mhm.
if you're happy, I'd love you to just um, talk about the process because what I picked up on, which really kind of made me think this is part of the process that you don't hear about, is certainty. So
Yes.
that
Yes.
certainty that you had, like despite not knowing how and being open to the many ways it could happen, if you could talk to that, because certainty I don't think is discussed, and it's something that I'm like sitting there going, maybe this is something we need to be putting in the book.
Yes, absolutely. So there's confidence and then there's certainty and conviction, right? Confidence is, I've been doing this a few times. I've public spoke. I have a bit of confidence there. I've seen myself do it. There's some proof, right?
Mhm.
Conviction and certainty is saying, I can't see it. I don't know where it's going to come from, but I'm going to choose to believe and have blind mountain moving faith that it's what I declare will be so, right?
Mm.
As a hypnotherapist, I've been studying the subconscious mind for years, so I really understand the mechanics of it and how to program it, right? So basically, I used my method called the dream method to create this $30,000 month, right? Online, there's always like, make the 10K month, the 20K months, a lot of the 10K, hit 10K months. I'm like, you know what? Scrap the 10K. I'm going for 30. Let's just go big or go home. And the very first step of the dream method is to declare and decide, right?
And this
D
is
is for
this is
declare.
like speak it, it is so like we're talking. Let's be
Yes.
clear,
And
yeah.
so yeah, the step was set the intention, right? I am intending in the next 30 days, I will manifest $30,000 into my business. That is
Mhm.
the intention. And then how do you want to come in? Easily and effortlessly. And then I'm not attached to exactly the how, right? And when you're making a demand and a command, because the subconscious mind likes demands, it likes you to tell it what to do, right?
Right.
If you're new to the subconscious mind, give yourself a prompt saying, When you go to bed, say, wake me up at 7 a.m. or wake me up at 5 a.m. before you go to bed. Subconscious mind, wake me up at 5 a.m. And it'll take that command, wake you up at 4:45, a little bit earlier. It really likes directions and instructions, but clear directions, right?
Yeah.
So as you're setting the intention and saying it out loud, knowing that you're also speaking to your subconscious mind, which is that little employee in your mind, right? The conscious mind is the goal setter, the subconscious mind is the goal getter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you say it, you would declare it, or you can even write it down. Writing down your goals is great. This is what I intend. This is how it's going to happen. I'm not attached to the how, and I'm planting the seed and I'm not uprooting it. So many people plant the seed and then they pull it out with doubt and fear, right? You
Right.
have to plant the seed and let it germinate and water it,
So
right?
how do you do that? How do you nurture it?
Perfect. Perfect. Amazing. So you declare it, and then R is for reprogram and release. When I set the intention to make that 30K, the version of me that was doing it had money fears. I had a fear that I had to make maybe 50 clients to make that. I had a fear that I had to work extremely hard to make that. I had all these fears and things that weren't aligned with that 30K easily and effortlessly. So the reprogramming part is saying, okay, if I'm going to hit this money goal, what is stopping me? What belief systems will drag me down from not or prevent me from hitting that? And doing a bit of shadow work and illuminating all the money block stories about business, yourself. I had a big one that my audience doesn't care about me. How the hell am I going to make 30K if my audience doesn't care about me?
Yeah, wow. That's
I
an
had to do
interesting one
all,
to expose.
yeah, I had to expose all of them because if I'm going to make 30K, I can't have any weeds in my subconscious preventing that seed from blossoming, right?
Mm,
So declare and then reprogram and release any of the blocks, okay?
mm,
And E is for energy and embodiment, right? Being the woman that 30K months is natural and normal for. What next? That was the prompt to my intuition. Being the woman that 30K months is natural and normal for. What next? Okay, host a masterclass. Okay, reach out to your people, email these people. You can be guided by your subconscious mind and your intuition to take action and be the person that it's done for in your energy. Have
mm,
that conviction and that feeling, right? And then A is for aligned action. Okay. D is for declare, R is for reprogram, E is for energy and body, A is for aligned action. As you pray, move your feet. The law of attraction has the word action in it, right? Move your damn feet. The 30K, obviously the 30K did come in miraculous ways. I went to a washroom once at a festival, met this woman in the line, started talking to her, and she ended up being a client 2 days later because she just happened to be looking for hypnotherapy sessions,
wow.
right? The subconscious mind will guide you once it accepts the idea. That's the beauty of the subconscious mind, right? So aligned action, take aligned action, be the person it's done for. Show up like it's inevitable and it will be inevitable, right? And then M is for manifest. Hold the vibration until you see it in your reality. I even got pneumonia during those 30 days, but I held the intention. I know it's kind of crazy, but I was like, no matter what, this goal is happening. I don't care. I don't need to see it. I don't need to understand it. One client that I hadn't talked to in a year reached out randomly for a return package. The universe will just send you things, but you have to hold the vibration and keep watering the seed, right? I
Mm,
also do like anchor affirmations. So one of my anchor affirmations was all the spots are filled. All the spots are filled. Whenever my egoic mind would doubt me, I'm like, nope, all the spots are filled. Every single client showed up. I only need 7 clients, 8 clients, all the spots are filled. And I would
mm,
demand that that was the truth and water the seed some more with faith and that energy of, oh my God, like, how does it feel that this 30K came in? Like,
mm.
amazing, right? So declare,
Is that frequency? How does it feel? Are those things aligned? Like if you say hold the frequency, does that mean hold the feeling?
yes, yes, exactly. Your frequency is your emotional state, right?
Mm,
Whatever you mentally and emotionally marry is your frequency. So mentally committing and emotionally feeling that, oh my God, it's done. I'm so grateful. Thank you. It happened. It was easy. It came in so beautifully, like feeling it. Because
mm,
there's a certain degree of gratitude, right? That I can even manifest my reality in this type of way, right? So yeah, that was the step by step of how I did it. But the big part, the most important part was the reprogramming because there was no way I was going to create that 30K if I had all of these icky beliefs and doubts and fears about what was possible, right? The
mm,
declaring is easy, setting a goal is easy, but becoming the identity of the goal, that's what I
mm.
did. I became the 30K in my mentality, in my body, in my energy.
So, just a quick message. I hope you're enjoying this podcast bonus session. Now, if you have heard this interview, then you're probably sitting in there going, what is this all about? Well, this is all about my Exit the Matrix experiment. Now, I decided to write a book because I'm really interested in how do we go from the existence that we have now to exiting the matrix and living with intention from our hearts, following our heart's desires, but also creating abundance in all areas of our lives. And hence, whilst I've been researching this book, I thought, this is a really solitary journey. I want people to come on this journey with me. And hence, I've got this very special group. Now, come and join me. The first month for founders is free. And if you decide to stay, fantastic. So what I'm doing is I'm interviewing incredible people. I'm getting insights about what's this awakening that people are getting? What's this the exit the matrix kind of sliding door moment for them? Now, I've obviously run this podcast for over a year now, and I have more than 30 stories, but I'm also interested in those people who are in this transformational space, who are actually not just awakening themselves, and they're awakening others. What is the mechanism? As Bashar talks about it, it's the permission slip. Are they going through astrology or meditation or yoga or breath work? Are they just going within and getting a sense of what's really going on? So that's what all the Exit the Matrix experience is about. I'm going to let you get back to the interview, but if you want to join me, go to exitthematrix.today/ETM with me, which stands for Exit the Matrix with me. So that's exitthematrix.today/ETM with me. Sign up. I'd love for you to come along. I'm creating courses. There's currently courses in there around 4D gratitude. There's more courses to come. I'm creating custom GPTs on how you can exit the matrix and helping you uncover what lies beneath your subconscious and holding you back, and also other custom GPTs that I'm sure you're going to love. And most of the speakers are actually really motivating me. So I'm creating courses, I'm creating ebooks, I'm creating experiments you can try, I'm creating tools that you can use, and I'm also writing a book. So at some stage, I'll get to writing the book. At this moment, it's just all about the research. And I hope you choose to join me because I'm really excited about this experiment. So I'll get back to the interview now. Enjoy yourself. And as always, here's to your success.
So you mentioned revealing the shadows. I'm seeing on your CV timeline therapist. I know that there's a lot of people who've said, I had a bad childhood, it's not for me. And I'm sure you might want to share your experiences, but that that kind of feeling of becoming that person despite these things, is that possible? Or is it just that
Yeah.
intentional moment?
Absolutely. For those who don't know, I had a very unstable childhood. My father was in and out of jail till I was 18. Money was a feast and famine. There were moments where my family had to send my sister and I away to different family members, traveling a lot at a young age, and struggling. Money was a big, big struggle, right? So timeline therapy is really about going to those root causes, those times in your youth from 0 to 7 where you began to feel those energetic agreements, unconscious beliefs start to form around lack, scarcity, not being good enough, and releasing those at the root cause, the root issue, right? This is what they call generational curses, generational wounding. It's not seeing my mom, my father, and their parents have anything that's going to leave a impression on a child, right?
Yeah,
This is how the world works. It's struggle.
yeah.
I was on the struggle bus for a long time. That was my desire to break free from the struggle bus and create wealth for myself, you
Mm.
know? And there's so much programming as well around being filthy rich, people, the rich kids, a lot of things that were
Evil.
collectively, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that we have to untie. And that's where timeline therapy comes in. It's really about, so if hypnotherapy is like making the bed and planting the seeds, and then timeline therapy is kind of scraping any of the gunk underneath the bed and taking out any of the generational past lives regression type of stuff that's like under the bed that you don't really know. That's where timeline
Mm.
therapy comes
It's like
in.
vacuuming the dust away.
Yes, 100%.
And
Yeah.
and so when you say, releasing these or reprogramming, is that, it sounds to me like from NLP, my limited knowledge of it, that is kind of like the anchoring statements. Is that right? Or is it there a lot more to that? There's the awareness of what they are and uncovering them. And is that
It's
enough?
Awareness is halfway healed. Awareness is halfway healed. It's good to be, a lot of people are aware that they procrastinate, but they don't take any action to change why they are doing it, right? So it's good to illuminate the block. The real shift comes in the changed behavior or the changed belief system and overriding what was once there, removing the weed and then planting a better seed and letting that sprout and taking action from that new belief system. Because you're
Mm,
always operating from something, right? Lack,
mm,
scarcity, or abundance, having more than enough, right?
mm,
So, yes, illuminating the beliefs are important, but actually shifting the behavior that's attached to the belief is where the real change comes into, right? Because how are you going to run a marathon if you don't really believe in yourself? You're not going
yeah.
to really run that marathon. But if you have a new belief that you're capable and and everything's possible for you and take action from it, then
Mm,
the real new belief gets anchored and it
mm.
becomes who you are, right? Now I'm someone that makes 30K months plus, right? Like that's just who I am now. I can't go back to to
Mm.
just to black, you know? Yeah.
It is interesting because it makes me think of a kind of documentary that I saw on the Australian ABC, and they had this room full of babies, like, I don't know, crawling babies, so yeah, 8 months up, and they filled it full of snakes. And
Mm.
they had snake handlers there, and they were non-vicious snakes, etc. And the children looked at the snakes and then looked at the adults in the room to their reaction, and the reaction was of nothing. And so they patted the snakes, and they were
Wow.
playing with the snakes, and the snakes were crawling over them. And it was just this observation of how, if, as a child, obviously between that 0 and 7 age, that we look for how the adults, are around us saying, they must have done something, really wrong to get money, or, only good
Mm.
girls go to heaven, or, unless you get A's, you don't eat, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but that kind of awareness of those things is one thing, and potentially seeing the patterns what plays out in your life. The next stage is what I'm hearing from you is not just being aware of it, but in the moment going, I choose to think rich people have done good and have a philanthropy opportunity to make a bigger, impact in the world. Or I choose that, sometimes a good girl can be a little sneaky and have a bit of fun, and it's okay. You're not going to go to hell. But, it's about choosing something in the moment and being aware of it. How hard is it to bring that observation of, oh, I should have done that to now? Is that just a learned thing?
It's giving yourself grace because you are overriding decades of programming and identity stuff, right? We have to give ourselves self-compassion for things that we don't even. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, I had a subconscious belief that people wouldn't pay me because of the color of my skin, right? That is not something that I was born with. That is something that was imprinted and seen and experienced, right?
Mm,
To see some sort of struggle in that regard. So it's the awareness, yes, but it's also giving yourself grace to change as we change, right? Hypnotherapy, obviously, and all these tools that I use makes it faster to do that stuff. But it's self-compassion that, yeah, I'm choosing something different. I've been choosing lack or struggle or
mm,
hiding or playing small for this or people pleasing. A lot of people struggle with that. But now I'm going to stretch myself and bit by bit crawl to the new reality if you need to, right?
mm. So, I mean, having the depth of knowledge around all of the different skills and things that you have is extraordinary. I've had an experience, EFT's tapping, right?
Yes,
How,
EFT
how
tapping.
is that different from the NLP and the timeline therapy and, hypnotherapy? Like, where does that fit into this?
Yeah, EFT is very interesting. It's pretty much somatic work, energetic work, right? So in a lot of ways, the subconscious mind is the body, right? The body keeps the score. We feel things in our body. When
Yep.
my clients are procrastinating or sabotaging, it's because their body isn't allowing them to take the action. There's a what's the word? A stuckness, a subconscious resistant that they're just not posting, they're not executing, right? And it's in their body.
Mm,
So EFT tapping, which stands for emotional freedom tapping, is a mix of acupressure and psychology and Chinese meridian points, right? So our body is running on several meridian points, like this pressure is attached to the liver and this is attached to something else, one of those type of things. I don't know all of them,
mm,
but EFT is basically illuminating the subconscious fears by tapping on the negative parts or negative narratives that are coming up, and then rewiring the mind and the body with the positive. So what it would look like would be this. The first 20 minutes is, I'm afraid to do this. Money never comes. You're kind of vomiting all of the negative feelings and thoughts that you've been having as you tap on the meridian points and release the subconscious resistance in your body, the fear, the anxiety, the tightness, the restriction, right? So you're giving light to the negative. I'm not good enough. Things don't work out for me, blah, 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 over and over again until you feel complete. And then once you've given word and light to the negativity, then you want to reprogram the body with the positive. I'm more than enough. Everything works out for me. I'm safe to be seen. And you rewire the positivity into the body. And by the time you're doing EFT sequence, you're meant to feel very relaxed, very open, very expanded. Your energetic field is wide open. You don't feel so tight, right?
Yeah.
So you want to think of it as a door. When you start EFT, you're typically energetically closed like this. And as you tap, you're opening up your energy field. You're relaxing. You're feeling calm. The screaming narratives, the screaming children, as I call them, are relaxing, right? So the analogy I give in my business is you want to imagine yourself in a bus, and you're trying to drive from point A to point B. And in the back of the bus, you have all of these screaming children. I'm not good enough. It's not going to work. Please, blah, blah, blah. And these children are screaming at the top of their lungs, right? With EFT, what we're doing is we're taking each individual child. I'm not worthy. I'm not going to make money. And we're tapping on them. We're silencing them. We're giving them a voice and then calming them down so you can get in your bus and drive to your destination without all the ickiness.
I love that. I had an experience of EFT, and I was doubtful on what it was about, but I went with an open mind, but still going, like, I don't my logical mind does not understand this, but I'm open and willing. And I had this situation. It was a situation with a a block of units, and I had one unit, and a builder had come in and he had overspent by millions of dollars, and we were taking him to court. And I jumped on the committee to help with the numbers, and there was little old ladies losing their super, and I was so angry. And for a year, I would wake up grinding my teeth, angry. Straight away, my mind went straight to this man and the injustice of what he was doing. And my husband said to me, "We got to sell this place because I don't want my wife like this." And I'm like, "No, I know it's a good investment. I just have to get over this." But it made me I was starting the day so angry. And this is for a year. And so I did EFT, and the lady said, I have a one package or three package. I'm like, I'm going to need at least three packages. So let's do three. And honestly, within that 40 minutes, at the end of that 40 minutes, she said, "Tell me, what do you feel about that person?" And I was like, I couldn't even remember his name.
Wow.
And I was just like, I don't know what that is. And I don't know what we're going to do for the next two things. I think I did get over chocolate or something. But I was just like, wow, that really was profound for me, because it was a year of feeling like not good. And then that kind of, I guess that's rewiring. And of all of those processes that you've seen and used, do they each have a different role, or do you use them all together, or are they more effective in something than others?
Yes, for sure. So I use timeline therapy when the client says, I've been feeling like this my entire life. I've been struggling with being seen. When it's an entire life feeling, that's a deeper since you were born in the mom's womb, like something deep. So timeline therapy is for that. It feels like it's always been this way. I've
Yeah.
never felt enough,
This is the
right?
way I
It's just the way I am. That's when you do timeline therapy. EFT tapping is for procrastination, more self-sabotaging, the emotional blocks, like how you were feeling that kind of like anger, emotion, some sort of like,
am.
frustration. So that's for more of the emotional stuff. And then hypnotherapy I use to install new beliefs and to also release any current beliefs that are coming up. Like for me in the 30K, whatever type of beliefs around not being able to hit a goal. It's kind of more present day, more current moment kind of stuff for installing new beliefs. Yeah. And then NLP is just interweaved into all of them. NLP is more the talking patterns,
The language.
question, the language of it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to switch gears here, because this is something that really I'm kind of playing around the edges with, and I'm kind of uncomfortable with, but I'm not sure, where we're going to go with this. But
Okay.
I heard you talking about I amness. And I'd
Mm.
been reading Neville Goddard's, I am in the Bible says I am God. And as a good Catholic girl, I sit here going, how can I say I'm God? I'm like, that seems sacrilegious, but it feels so
Mm.
right. I'm like, if I'm the sovereign creator and the Bible is actually telling us we want you to be that, we don't want you to put your faith in something else. There is this spiritual God component. And then overlaying that, I recently watched an expert in epigenetics, and she was doing essentially, from what I'm understanding, you're talking about timeline therapy, but she created a safe protection circle. And she said, I invoke Jesus. And she said, I don't believe in Jesus, but my experience has been that if there is, what's the word, narcissistic, no, things that are out there that are going to try to tap your energy, the word Jesus stops it. It's the most powerful word. And so this kind of coming back to, and I'm studying comparative religions at the moment, and the Kabbalah, which is all about energy transmission, not religion. And like all of these things are sitting with me that everything seems to be keep coming back to the spiritual and the religion and God. And I'm just interested in your thoughts on that because, working with people for so long and helping them manifest, what they want in their life, is there a spiritual component to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no denying. I would never denounce God. Grew up Pentecostal. Do I believe in just me, take it or leave it. Do I believe in going to church every day to meet or every Sunday to meet God? No, I don't think you need to go to church every Sunday to meet God. I think it's a very private,
Mm,
individual thing. The
mm,
way I will break down the way I see it, is we are a particle in the body of God. Okay. We are a particle or a fractal of the body of God, right? If God is perfect, love, whole, complete, all that is, then we too are perfect, loved, whole, complete, right? And because we are God's highest form of creation, we're a particle, we're a daughter of God, son of God, whatever you are, whatever you want to call it, we have everything that we need within us to create our realities and demand our realities like the Bible says we can, right? So the I amness is the God consciousness that flows through all of us. If we're all in the body of God, there is a flowing, like we are all attached to that energy, right? To
yeah.
that consciousness, that awareness, right?
Mm,
So Narley is a program. She is a pattern. She was born, given a name, given a religion, given all these beliefs. But my I amness, my perfectness, my what's the word? The purity of me is God, right?
mm,
Gnarly has the daddy issues, the fears, the blocks, but my I amness is perfect. There's no
mm,
distortion. There's no limitation. What is 30K to God? Right? What is 30K to God?
yeah.
Right? What are these blocks to God? Right? To the I amness that we are, the perfection of our being. Right? Bob Proctor would always say this in his, I don't know if you know who Bob Proctor is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he would always say, you are God's highest form of creation. You
Yeah.
are God's highest form of creation. In the Bible, it's everywhere. It's
Mm,
everywhere. I think there's a Bible verse that's like what I can do, you can do greater, right? What the Father can do, or something greater than I. I'm not a Bible whatever person, but you know what I mean. There's some verses
I
in
get the
there.
gist.
There's
We'll
some
go with
verses. So when I tap into my God power, the God
that.
state, and I look at the distortion of what gnarly in the programming and society wants me to think, and I
Mm,
tap into the godness, the I amness, the infinite,
mm,
I don't feel fear. I don't feel this limitation. I feel expanded. I feel taken care of. I know that my Father, there's provision, there's whatever, right?
mm,
So we live in a reality where it's your choice. Abracadabra. If you want to believe in God, great. If you want to believe that there's someone watching you that's judging you, great. I like to believe that God has given me his power. He is backing me. His desires are my desires, right? The
mm,
word desire, the root word of that means of sire, right?
mm,
Sire, of sire, of the father, of the God. So if you have a desire to be a millionaire, to start the business, to be married, that is the desire of God coming down into your body, your vessel, saying, this is for you, my child, right? If
mm.
you want to be, I don't want to be very, very religious in this because I'm not, but I look at it from a very spiritual lens more than a
Yeah.
religious,
Well,
religious
it's
lens.
funny, more and more people I speak about this who say, I'm not religious, but yes, there's a God, there's a God consciousness. I've got a program called God Mode.
Yeah.
It's about sovereignty. And I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
it's I listened to this and I was listening to information about Kabbalah, and like there's two things. There's the creator and the vessel, and the
Mhm.
creator, created the vessel so the vessel could
Mhm.
have an experience that will come back to the creator. And your analogy of this universal kind of security camera
Surveillance.
here is the
Yeah.
universe who's, acting in wanting the best for us, but will not give us more than what we're capable for. And it's like, is she ready? Is she ready? Is she ready? Like, what is she acting? And if she is, you get closer and closer to that source of, God, universe, source, energy, power, connectedness, whatever, I amness. But there seems to be, through everyone I speak to, that there is this acceptance that there is a bigger consciousness that we're a part of, and we're already fulfilled. We just have to remember how to be that.
Yes, 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 yes. So, so true. And that's why you think of someone and then 3 days later they call you or they message you, right? We're all connected, right? We're all in the body of God, right? We're all perfect and complete. And I feel like people are disconnected. It really depends on how you were raised, right? People like I don't really believe in dogma, right? I don't like the idea of because my mom and dad were Jewish, then I have to be I don't really like that train of thinking, to be very honest. But there is definitely something that is moving us along, and I like to think of it as we're all God in drag, right? I'm just really God playing the character of Narley, and he chose to come to this world as
And
a
today, this is my
Canadian Black.
costume.
Yeah, today this is my costume, right? But yeah, you get to, I think having the I am conversation has really helped me
Mm,
transcend my limitations, right? Because
mm,
logic is limited, the egoic mind is limited, but God, I am, is infinite.
yeah,
We're limitless in consciousness.
yeah.
What can't we do in consciousness, right?
Yeah, and I appreciate you discussing this because it's with some trepidation that you bring it up, because there is I guess, the move away from the dogmas of religious works.
Mm.
And I read today just someone had posted the words of the new Pope, Roman Catholic Pope, and his words were essentially, as long as I draw breath, this church is a home for the homeless. It is not, you do not need a VIP card. And, and it is for those that are broken and for those who have left prayer, but those who
Mhm.
still want to feel a connection. And that really resonated with me because I appreciated the fact that it felt like the dogma, and it's like, and those who've left because of abuse and have left because of all of these things that have gone on. And I
Mhm.
think if more spiritual leaders and more leaders speak from that type of heart, that is, it's okay to be broken, it's okay to have doubts, it's okay to have fears, but there is a connection point, and be it, your connection to source or to universal energy or to God or to whomever or to your own divine spark. There
Mhm.
is a way that you can pull out the energy when you feel that you're in a place that's like, maybe I should just sit down, shut up, and get on with life and not want more and not want to manifest more. There is something that you can tap into that gives you that sense of actually there's something higher than me that already sees the potential of this.
Yes. 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 You're
Mm.
being supported. And that's the thing. Like you are so supported. We are so supported. And then I feel like also when you really learn how the subconscious mind works, you really get how supported you are. Because then you can actually program yourself to hit your goals and get where you want to be, right? And be more confident, right? This whole thing started because I quit smoking through hypnotherapy. And I was like, a 10-year addiction in 1 hour. So I was like, well, what else can that do? What else is going on in our minds that God
Mm.
has given us, I am has given us, right? These
Mm.
tools to use, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I
Wow,
love the
this,
talk. Thank you. Thank you for having this conversation, Jane, because a lot of people steer away from it. And I think it's been
yeah.
actually really helpful for me, the I
Mm.
amness and the consciousness
Mm.
conversation to
I think,
transcend my limits.
and I think it's there is a fear that you will be ostracized by your audience or your community, and they're like, wait a second, I'm an atheist. This does not affect me. But the atheists already believe in something. They believe in not believing in God, right? And so, there is this kind of, I think, worry and a fear for people in the public eye in having this conversation. And, I remember reading Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And the
Mhm.
last chapter was all about God. And I'm like, what? This has no place here. Like I was learning about the greatest minds in the world, and all of a sudden you throw this God stuff in. And it wasn't until have you read Outwitting the Devil?
No, but I've heard amazing things about it.
And so it's the only book I've ever read twice. And I read maybe 6 books a month. And
Wow. Wow.
Audible, Kindle, reading, I've got lots of books on the way. But it's the only one I've listened to more than once. And I had heard on a number of business podcasts people saying that, like every year I start with this. And I thought, God, what is that about? And the interesting thing about it is the Napoleon Hill, he wrote his book, seminal book, Think and Grow Rich, 1928. And he then followed it up by writing this Outwitting the Devil, which is a conversation with the devil about how it's like he's captured the devil, and it's a chat. And it's about why do humans keep themselves stuck? Why do religions, governments, and schools put us in a
Mhm.
structure of a matrix that keeps us indoctrinated? And his wife said, if you release this,
Mhm.
it will kill your career, and you cannot release it until I die. And so he made that commitment. And she died in 1983, but his son or nephew and his wife took over the business. And the wife said, you can't release this because it will kill our business. The religions, everyone will come after us.
Wow.
And so it's only been released in like the last 15 years. And if you
Wow.
listen to it on Audible, the voice of the devil is really scary. But it is a beautiful narrative about, and the devil representing our fears and our doubts and our subconscious and our beliefs and all of the doctrines that we have. But if you listen to it, it is something that I think everyone should hear, because it really gives you that insights into there's something else out there, the external shadows or whatever that have been constructed to keep you confined, as well as the internal ones and the cultural ones and your childhood ones that have kept you like in a way of being. And this breaking out is, I mean, I think you beautifully said it. It's almost like an active sport. Like you have to take aligned action. You have to have will. You have to, there has to be intention behind it, because just thinking and hoping is not going to, hope's not a strategy, right? It's not going to get anyone anywhere. So, I really appreciate the conversation, because I think it's one that has to be had and is across all religions and dogma.
Yes, yes, thank you. Yes, and it's a powerful conversation. It's still even the book that one of the books that I love to read is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And
Right.
he's a pastor, so he interweaves a lot of God talk with the subconscious mind conversation. At first I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, how does it
Let's
relate? But
get past Luke 13.
yeah. It's
Uh,
all intertwined.
Well, I feel intertwined with you. Thank you so much for this conversation. I really appreciate it, because it's given me that exploration of certainty is
Mhm.
something that I had, and confidence, and as a difference, confidence, certainty, and that's really been very powerful for me. And also, I guess these metaphors of the fact that as you turn up, you've got something here watching you, and it's going to provide the reality and the costumes you put on and the way your intention, and in any moment you can change things
Yes.
and not be a victim of the past and give up smoking like that after 10 years, or an addiction, or anger over some past property deal. But, I think that is so powerful, because it really gives me a framework of going, if you believe this and you
Mhm.
take, defined action towards this, and you're aware of the things that can trip you up, and
Yes.
forgive yourself. And I think you said have grace for yourself in those periods, and grieve the losses and potentially the people leaving your life. It's
Mhm.
okay, because you're on this path to I amness and
Mhm.
fulfillment.
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh,
yeah.
Nali. Well, look, I just love this conversation.
Me
If
too.
people want to reach out to you, what's the easiest way? I'll put all the details underneath the.
Yes, yes. I am most active on Instagram at gnarlyk, at NARLEYK, at gnarlyk. That's where I hang out the most. And I just started a YouTube channel, which is at gnarlyk coaching. So find me on there growing.
Well, I love the YouTube channel. I was listening to it all going, this is fantastic. So yeah, I'll have to look at Instagram too. But thank you so much. I really appreciate how deep we went in this conversation.
Me
It's given me
too. Thank you so
think about.
much, Jane.
And especially because I blindsided you, thought you were just turning up to say, hi, how you doing? Set up with the time.
I was like, okay, all right. Yeah.
You're like,
I was
okay,
ready.
I'm on. Amazing.
Put on your costume.
You did well. Thank you so
Thank
much. And
Thank
to everyone listening, as always, here is to your success. Bye for now.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Exit the Matrix, Stories of Success. Make sure you subscribe to future episodes at www.exitthematrix.io. Until next time, here's to your success.